Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the second part of our story. Let's jump right back in. The next day, I was out in the field, working on some stumps along the fence line. Had to dig some out with the loader bucket on my old John Deere tractor. Big, powerful tractor for its day. Could dig out a good-sized stump pretty easily. Around 11:30, I broke for lunch. Coming over the hill from the pasture, I saw Harold's truck speeding up the road. When I got to the house, Doris was all flustered and jumpy. Couldn't keep her hands still, fluttering them around her face, pulling at her dress. I just tromped into the house, acting like I didn't notice. Don't think much of anything had really happened. They just hadn't had enough time. Doris put lunch on the table. We sat down. Honey, how's the fence coming? Oh, it's coming along okay. I'll have to run to town after lunch for some posts. You want to come along? I need to get some other things at the feed store too. I'd love to. I could get some groceries and stop at the pharmacy. It had been a while since we went to town. Will it take you long at the feed store? Nah, only an hour or so to solve all the world's problems and predict the exact amount of rain and the crop size with all the retired farmers hanging out there. We headed to town. I dropped Doris at the grocery store, told her I'd meet her at the pharmacy for an ice cream soda. That got a giggle out of her. I went to the feed store, got a dozen fence posts and a couple of big corner posts. Massive things, usually had to use the loader to get them in the ground. Got a roll of woven wire and a couple of rolls of barbed wire, some animal health stuff too. Met Doris at the pharmacy, had our sodas and headed home. I held her hand, kissed her when we got home, told her I loved her. She got a little embarrassed. I love you too, Leo. This was nice. We should go to town more often. I'm gonna run this stuff out to the pasture and unload it. I'll be back early. Maybe we can have a bath and scrub each other's backs like we used to? What do you say to that? Ha! Oh, Leo, that would be nice. I'll put a roast in the oven, and we can eat a little later, take our time enjoying our bath. Hurry back. I think I almost broke a land speed record driving out to the pasture and unloading everything except one thing I kept in the truck. We had a very enjoyable bath and never did eat that roast. Cold roast beef sandwiches for lunch for the next week, I guess. Could have been tuna fish, yuck. Already had my fish course at the Y. Nice, clean fish tasted great. Well, Doris had been screwed hard. I was pretty well knackered myself, but miles to go before I sleep. That night, I didn't have to worry if Doris woke up and I was gone. It had long been my habit to get up in the middle of the night and check on the livestock. Just something my dad and grandpa always did, so I did it too. I got my tool out of the truck. Decided to walk. I'd been walking and running these roads and fields day and night since I was 5. Many a night, Grandpa, Dad, and I would go hunting on a bright moonlit night like tonight. I could see good, knew all the shortcuts. Didn't take me long to get to Harold's. Leo paused, took a breath. I went in the back door. Back then, nobody locked the back door. Didn't try to be quiet. Headed straight for his bedroom. Flicked on the light, nudged him in the foot, told him to get up. He tried to jump out of bed, challenged me, but he wasn't ready for my tool. You see, at the feed store, I'd bought a top-of-the-line electric cattle prod. As he came up, I stepped forward and gave him a quick jolt. You'd have thought I'd electrocuted him. He yelped, curled up, whining like a kid. I stepped closer, another quick jolt, and he shot straight up in the air, almost to his feet. Harold, you chicken. I've got it turned down for you on small stuff. If you don't quit your whining, I'll crank it up to the bull setting, and you'll really see if you can fly without wings. Now get dressed, you sorry piece of... I told him to stay away from my wife, and he didn't. Now he was going to pay for his disobedience. I made him walk out into the kitchen, then zapped him again with the prod. He went down like a sack of wet cement. While he was down, I slipped some slip knots over his wrists, tied his hands behind his back, hauled him up, poked him again, and steered him out the door. Once outside, I zapped him good and hard, knocked him to the ground. While he was down, I took a loop of barbed wire, wrapped it around his shoulders, then proceeded to wrap him from neck to knees in loops of barbed wire. Had to really hurt. I helped him up, and by motions and prods, headed him out his back gate, across the fields. He kept trying to hop, hard to walk with only his legs free from the knee down. It was okay, I was in no hurry. I knew where we were going. Poor old Harold didn't. He tried to come after the wrong woman. After a while, we neared my property, way out in my back pasture. Pretty soon, we came to where I'd been fencing. I stopped him, told him to turn around and face me. He did. Hard to do, standing in the soft soil from the post hole digging. I'd used my dad's big 22 power auger to dig the deep holes for the corner posts. Wanted them well set, so I used an extension. The holes were down about 8 feet or so. I stepped towards him with the prod extended. Wasn't going to touch him again. Just wanted to explain the error of his ways. He must have thought I was going to hit him again. As I came forward, he took a hop back. All of a sudden, he was just gone. I looked around, couldn't see him. I did hear a little mewing and an occasional whimper. Not sure what was making them. Oh well, it had been a good night. I stood there, enjoying the night, looked at the big old corner post hanging from the loader arms of the tractor. Decided I wanted to go ahead and get it set. That way I'd have a good start for tomorrow on getting the fence in. Got on the tractor, fired her up, moved it forward a foot or so, and hit the release lever. The post went into the hole with a satisfying thunk. Got down, proceeded to backfill the hole with a shovel. When it was all nicely packed, I headed home. A few days later, Doris mentioned she hadn't seen Harold around lately. I told her maybe she should bake him a pie and take it over, see if he was all right. Later on, I saw her drive out towards Harold's in our truck. She came back fairly quickly, said he wasn't home, told me she'd left the pie for him on the back step. Figured maybe he'd gone off with someone since his truck was in the yard. I told her I was sure it was okay. He'd turn up sooner or later. Honey, how about we take a run to town? Get us another soda. She came to me. I wrapped my arms around her, gave her a big kiss, and helped her into the truck. Yep, it was going to be a good summer. Leo looked at Mark. Will I see you tomorrow, Mark? Yeah, I'll be here, Mark told him. Leo shuffled off. Mark was left with his thoughts and a layer of duck poop around his shoes. Stepped in it, all right, he thought. Literally and figuratively. Now he just had to figure out how to come out smelling like a rose. Seemed like he was the only one feeling any real pain right now. A lot of water had passed under the bridge since that fateful decision to take a day off. Here he sat, ankle deep in duck crap, not one bit smarter about Sarah and that dirtbag. Still didn't feel real. Could this be just Saturday morning? Had 24 hours passed since his life started going down the drain? By now, Sarah was probably frantic. He supposed he should call her, tell her he was still stuck in the motel back in Illinois, make some excuse about the car not being fixed until Monday. He didn't really want to ease her anxiety, but until he heard more from Jerry, he didn't know what to do. His first instinct, driven by his nature and training, was to go straight at the guy. To hell with the consequences. Let the chips fall where they may. He just wanted the pain to stop. He'd never felt this kind of emotional pain before, but deep down, he knew going straight at them wouldn't stop the pain. It would just make it worse. Waiting for more information seemed like his only option. He headed towards his car. Just as he got there, his cell rang. Hey Jerry, he said, reading the caller ID. Morning, Mark. Got some information for you. Don't know what to make of it yet. Seems kind of weird. Can we meet for coffee? Same place. Sure. I'll see you there in about 15 minutes. They both arrived at Denny's at the same time, walked in together, and went straight to a booth away from the other diners. They ordered coffee, waited until they were served before getting down to it. We've had the house under surveillance for 24 hours, followed Sarah whenever she went out, Jerry began. We've got taps on her cell and house phone. In that time, all she's done is go to the grocery store and try to call you about 24 times. Those calls all went to voicemail. Yeah, I know, Mark said, holding up his phone. She did receive a call from your ex-brother-in-law. He wanted to set up a meeting with her for this coming Monday, after you went to the office. She told him she couldn't and wouldn't meet him ever again. Then he threatened her. Said if she didn't meet him, he'd tell your daughters she was a cheating whore. Said he had proof she was cheating on their father with some guy from the diner where she works. Apparently, he saw her coming out of the Hilton Hotel with a strange man and jumped to conclusions. He contacted her about it just this past Wednesday and proceeded to threaten her. I have it all on tape, Jerry said, sliding a small cassette player across the table. I'm not sure what they've actually done. Based on what you saw, it could have been almost anything. She did tell him it would never happen again and that he could drop dead. He threatened her again, demanded she meet him. She hung up on him. Since we have full audio coverage of the house, we could hear her sobbing after she hung up. He tried to call her back several times. He also drove by and went to the door late last night. When he didn't see your car, he banged on the door and yelled at her. We have a video of that as well. Are you telling me you don't think Sarah was a willing participant in what I saw last Friday morning? Mark asked, his voice tight. Well, from what I've heard and seen so far, it has all the signs of a blackmail situation gone bad, Jerry told him. Mark, can you let me run with this for another day or so? I think I have a way to find out what he's really up to. Well, I was just about to call her and tell her I was stuck and wouldn't be home until Monday because of car trouble. I guess I could still do that and let you work on it. Would that work? Mark asked. Yeah, I'll get my best people on it and we'll see what we see. I'll be back in touch as soon as I have anything new. Do you want the video as well? Right now, no, I'll just listen to the audio tape for now. Okay, Mark, I'll talk to you soon. Mark sat there, mulling over what Jerry had told him. He decided to go back to the motel and listen to the tape. He called Sarah on the way. Hey, honey. Sorry for not returning your calls. I didn't realize I'd left my phone at the dealership when I left there, and I just got it back. They can't even start to fix the car until Monday because the parts have to be trucked in. and the service department isn't open again until Monday. Oh, Mark, why don't I come over? And we can spend Sunday together? Then we can drive back home on Monday after they finish with the car. No, that's okay. It's just one more day, and then I should be home Monday evening. Please, Mark. I really want to be with you. He was starting to get a little irritated. He really didn't want to be stuck in a motel with her for a night without any answers. Besides, he wasn't in Illinois, he was just across town. He didn't want to explain that yet. Sarah, it's okay. I can last another day alone. It's not like we've never been apart. He could hear a soft sob on the other end. He felt like a heel. In all their marriage, he'd never failed to give in to Sarah when it came to the two of them. He thought she was just feeling guilty, and he was getting a sick sense of satisfaction from having the ability to twist the pain towards her, for now. He hoped it wouldn't come back to bite him. Mark, please. I don't want to be alone this weekend. Can you rent a car and come home? Yeah, I probably could. I'm just not going to. I'll see you late Monday. Bye, Sarah. I love you, she said. He didn't reply. He could hear soft crying before he ended the call. It didn't feel good making her cry. He'd never knowingly made her cry before in all their marriage. It didn't make him feel good about himself at all. He drove towards the park, stopped and got some bread for the ducks and Clara. He was just coming up on the bench when Leo stepped onto the sidewalk 100 yards away. Some of the ducks saw him and started paddling like mad. Morning, Mark. How was your night? Leo asked. So. Didn't sleep well at all. Couldn't stop thinking about the whole mess. I did get some news this morning from my friend who's watching her and that dirtbag. Not really enough to mean much. Just then, Mark remembered the tape player in his pocket. He took it out and sat on the bench. He gave me this to listen to. Do you want to listen to it with me? Sure. But let's feed these little beggars first. Then we'll be left alone. They spent the next half hour feeding the ducks. Clara finally came along as the ducks were getting their fill, strolling down the sidewalk towards Leo. She stopped next to his right knee and sat down, her head close to his elbow, rubbing against his arm. He held a piece of bread in his left hand, which she pecked at. He petted her head and neck at the same time. She really seemed to like the attention. He fed her 3 or 4 more pieces. Then she got up, walked into the water and sailed out a few yards, preening her feathers. Mark started the tape player and listened in silence. It was pretty much what Jerry had outlined. What was apparent was that Sarah was being blackmailed. Mark wasn't sure why she was letting him do this to her. It sounded like there should be a simple explanation for what he saw. There had to be more to it. Mark, Leo said, his voice low. It seems to me that you got yourself a snake in your henhouse too. I've always held that a man should stomp his own snakes. But in this day and age, it's a mite harder than it was 30-some years ago. I'm real glad Doris never found out what really happened to Harold. I will say this. Life was sure a sight better without him slithering around. Yeah, Mark replied, a dark humor creeping in. I wish I had a power auger myself. I'd plant him 10 feet down. Problem is, I don't have one, and I don't live on a farm. As soon as he disappeared, the police would be all over it, and I'd be a prime suspect. Never been a good liar. They'd catch me sooner or later. I don't want to go to jail for him or Sarah. Do you think, Leo asked after a moment, that if you knew he was gone, that you could go back to Sarah without knowing all the details of what happened between them? Could you just act like nothing was wrong and go on with your life? After the last couple of days, Mark really wanted his life back. His stomach was in knots not knowing. I know I love her enough to forgive her. It'd be better if she didn't have to be humiliated into telling me what was going on. Yeah, he said finally. I think if I knew that Snake was gone for good, I could live with that, and with enough evidence to know that what happened between them was only a result of his blackmailing her. Mark, would you be willing to leave it up to me? Leo asked. Mark looked at him, surprised. Why, Leo? Why would you be willing to do that? Why would you take a risk like that for me? Well, Leo said, a faint smile on his lips. It would be a bit of a risk, but not much of one. No one knows we know each other, and no one ever will. What if you were caught? Mark pressed. Well, Leo chuckled softly. You have to know that I've thought about it ever since you told me about your problem. See, the risk to me is very slight. Even if they caught me, the punishment wouldn't matter. I'd never make it to trial. Mark frowned, confused. Leo sighed. Yes, see, I have terminal prostate cancer. Probably won't last 2 more months. Started feeling bad inside a couple of months after Doris died. Just never went in to get it checked until it was too late. They gave me 6 months, 5 months ago. I'm ready to go. Want to see Doris without all the morphine I'm taking. Couldn't get through the day otherwise. Mark was stunned. He couldn't believe he was contemplating the demise of another human being, even if it was his low-life ex-brother-in-law. I don't know what to say, Mark stammered. How would you do it? Leo just shook his head gently. Now, you know it's better that you know as little as possible. That way you don't have to lie. Okay? Yeah. Mark agreed. You're most likely right about that. Now, Mark, Leo continued, his voice growing a little weaker. As much as I like your company, don't come back here feeding the ducks. I will really miss our talks. But it would be better if you didn't meet me here anymore. You go on home on Monday and act like nothing is wrong. As much as you can. I'll take it as a personal favor from you to me to do that. I'll like the feeling of knowing that I've helped a good man and woman. I'll just help clean up the gene pool a little bit. Good thing that Snake hasn't managed to reproduce. That can only be a good thing. Mark still felt a knot of unease in his stomach. Leo, I don't know what to say. This whole situation feels unreal. Here we are, plotting the death of another person, though admittedly someone of the lowest character. The odd thing is, my conscience isn't bothering me in the slightest. Think no more about it, Mark. Just tell me his name and where he lives, and I will get to work. Now you go on and go home to Sarah tomorrow. Make sure you leave the monitors and surveillance in place and say nothing to your friend. That way, if there's any question, he can vouch for you and at least tell the powers that be when you were in the house and together with Sarah. I doubt it will come to that, but you never know. Now go and have a good life. Take care of Sarah. Mark rose and helped Leo to his feet, shaking his hand. He pulled him close, wrapped an arm around his shoulders, and gave him a silent hug. He turned and started away. When he turned back to look, Leo was gone. It was like he had never been there. There were no ducks, Clara was gone. There was no duck poop on the sidewalk. Mark walked back. There were no crumbs, nothing. No evidence they had ever been there. He turned and headed for his car. He didn't know why, but he felt a strange sense of peace. As he neared the edge of the park, he realized his path had taken him past the edge of one of the city's flower gardens. There, on the edge, was a huge rose bush. On the bush was a beautiful red rose on a very long stem. It was dark crimson red and smelled wonderful. He looked down at the label, Mr. Lincoln. It was a showstopper even though it was fall. Mark drove to a garden center and bought a potted Mr. Lincoln to take home with him tomorrow. He thought Sarah would like it. He thought it would be nice for them to plant it together. Meanwhile, somewhere, Leo was stomping on a snake. Mark went home on Monday and did his best to act like everything was normal. Sarah ran to him, and he held her gently. She was sobbing in his arms. Oh, Mark, I missed you so much. Please, take me to bed and make love to me now. He didn't know all the details, but he had promised Leo to take care of Sarah. What's more, he had promised himself to love her and take care of her. He just trusted that Leo would get the problem taken care of. He took her hand and led her towards the bedroom, into the bathroom. He turned on their big jetted jacuzzi tub and let it fill. One of their favorite things had always been to sit in the tub together and relax. She would sit between his legs, leaning back against his chest. He would wash her and caress her as the tub filled. He turned to her and started to undress her. He marveled that she had changed so little from the long-legged, long-armed, red-headed beauty he had fallen in love with. Her hair was the beautiful color of fresh grated carrots. It never failed to excite him. Her skin was a beautiful alabaster white with just a light dusting of tiny freckles. He loved to connect the dots with his tongue. He knew just where each and every one was hidden. Sarah seemed anxious and uneasy. He stood behind her, gently assisting her as she began to remove her clothing. With each piece, he softly comforted her, trying to help her relax. She let out a long sigh, her tension visibly easing. He knelt down to help her remove the rest of her clothes, then rose and guided her towards the quickly filling tub. He sat behind her as she settled down between his knees. As she leaned back against him, she began to cry, her sobs heavy and uncontrollable. "Honey, what's the matter?" he asked her. "Oh, Mark, I needed to see you so badly this weekend. I did something this week while you were gone that was wrong. I don't know if you will be able to still love me when I tell you. Now, let's listen to the story from Sarah's perspective," she began, her voice thick with tears. "After you left last Sunday evening, I called Nancy about some ideas for a surprise birthday party for you. She told me to get some ideas together, and we'd talk about it the next day at work." Nancy and Evan were the old Bosnian couple who owned the diner where Sarah worked. They were in their late 60s. I went in the next morning, and Nancy told me that she and Evan had been coming up with all kinds of ideas the previous evening after we hung up. All day long as we worked, we discussed different ideas for the party. After we closed, we decided to go see Hannah, Evan's brother, who was head chef at the Hilton Hotel. Evan wanted to run a quick errand and would meet us there. I rode over with Evan and Nancy met us there a few minutes later. We all went to Hannah's office and spent the next hour planning the party. When we were done, Nancy left, and Evan and I went to the front. The valet brought his car, and he drove me back to the diner, and I went home. At this point, all the composure she had gained broke down again, and she sort of melted down in Mark's arms as he held her there in the tub. She turned sideways, slid up onto his lap, buried her head in the hollow of his neck, and just sobbed. He held her and rocked her as she tried to compose herself. Go on, honey. What has you so upset? Everything had been so much fun and excitement. Planning with Nancy and Evan for our party. I really wanted it to be the best one ever for you. You don't turn 40 every year. I was hoping that no one would remember. She tried to go on, but the tears kept getting in the way. Very early on Friday morning, around 1:30, the doorbell rang. I didn't really hear it, and then someone was pounding on the door and yelling, "Police!" I ran to the door, thinking something had happened to you. I pulled the door open, and the screen was yanked open, and a man pushed me back into the house, knocking me to the floor. I didn't know who it was at first because he was yelling and obviously drunk. He grabbed my arm, yanked me to my feet, and slapped me. I finally realized it was Carl, Ginny's ex-husband. He was calling me a cheating whore and all kinds of vile names. He told me he had seen me with that man coming out of the Hilton on Tuesday afternoon. He told me he was going to tell the girls that I was a cheating whore and that if I didn't pay him $11,000, he would tell you I had cheated, and he had pictures to prove it. He showed me a picture of me and Evan getting into Evan's car. I was just so dumbfounded that I wasn't thinking straight. All I could think of was that the party would be ruined. I wasn't thinking rationally. I started to defend myself, hitting him, but he struck me in the face and knocked me down again. I was terrified. He became aggressive and grabbed at me, saying horrible things. I managed to hit him in the thigh with my heel, which caused him to fall back. His aggression seemed to lessen, and he headed for the door. Just as he was leaving, he grabbed me roughly, pulled me onto the porch, and tried to force a kiss. I bit his lower lip hard enough to make it bleed. He pulled away, got in his car, and drove off. Shaken, I went back inside and broke down, unsure of what to do next. All I could think about was how this might ruin your party. Honey, Mark asked softly, why didn't you just call the police and report an assault and attempted assault? I know now that that is what I should have done, Sarah sobbed. I was just so overwrought that I wasn't thinking straight. I went to the bathroom to see the damage and see if I could cover it up enough to go into work the next morning. I went to Nancy and told her what happened, and she told me I should tell you immediately. When you called Friday morning, I was excited to see you, and I wanted to tell you all the horrible things that had happened. Nancy convinced me that the party didn't matter in light of what had gone on. I was sad about that, but I knew I had to tell you then. When you didn't come home and I couldn't get a hold of you, I guess I kind of panicked, worrying what Carl might try and pull. Mark carefully began to tend to her, noticing the bruises from the rough treatment she had endured. She had used makeup to conceal the bruising on her face and chest, but some were still visible, showing signs of healing with a yellowish-blue tint. They must have been much worse when they were fresh. He promised himself that Carl would answer for every one of them. He cuddled her in his arms and held her. I love you, Sarah, he whispered. I'm sorry for making you worry. I should have rented a car and come home. Come on, let's get out and go to bed. I want to show you just how much I love you. They got out and dried each other off, and he led her to the bed, had her sit on the edge. He sat beside her, and they kissed and lay back together in one another's arms. They had been in love for 19 years and knew that they still loved each other. For the rest of the week, Mark stayed close to home, close to Sarah. He wanted to be there in case anything should come up. After the first week, things seemed to noticeably calm down around their house. Sarah hardly let him out of her sight. He had called in on Monday and taken a week's vacation, deciding to spend it with his love. He also wanted to be there in case that dirtbag Carl showed up and tried anything. But they needn't have worried. They didn't see hide nor hair of him. About 6 weeks had gone by. Mark was at work when FedEx delivered a package that required his signature. He signed and took it back to his office, closing the door. He opened it to find a letter from an attorney telling him that Leo had passed away and that, according to his last will and testament, the attorney was carrying out his final wishes. Along with the letter was a copy of the will and a small package. He opened the package and saw a small cassette tape player. He thought it would probably be prudent to listen to it in the car on the way home. He took out the will and read it. The will stipulated who got what from the estate of Leo and Doris Farmer. All of his and Doris's extended family shared equally from the monetary part of the estate. It seemed they had been very successful farmers. Several $1 million had been split and distributed. One stipulation was that none of the relatives would receive any money at all if they contested the second part of the will, namely that the farms were left to Mark. If anyone contested it, then they all got nothing and Mark got it all. Wow, Mark thought, I hadn't been expecting this at all. He went to the door and told his secretary that he was going home early and not to bother him unless it was an emergency. He headed out to his car, got in, and placed the cassette into the car player, hitting play. The first part of the tape was Carl confessing his screwed-up idea of getting money from Mark by using Sarah. Once the confession was over, Leo went into some detail as to the resolution of Mark's problem. Finally, it came to an end. Mark, Leo's voice, though recorded, still held that quiet kindness. See if you can get Clara and take her to the farm. She deserves a nice place to retire to. You'll have to stock the pond to have good fishing. It'll take a year or two to fill. I wish I was there to fish with you. Make sure to burn this tape. Be happy, and take Sarah there with you to live. Your friend, Leo. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.